议题是这样，请稍等我一下。OK，我马上分享一下我这个
马上
屏幕
分享一下我的屏幕
啊，请稍等一下。
稍等一下。
OK，
OK，
今天总体的一个介绍或者是议题的安排的话是这样的，就是我们待会儿会我会简单做一下我们公司的一个介绍，然后另外的话会就由无法去做我们的 iKnizer 的一个介绍，最后的话会有一个就是提前录制好的一个视频资料，因为为了最大程度的节省各位的时间，所以我们采取一个录屏。去针对于我们 iKnizer 的一些细节的一些介绍，还有就是基本操作的一个培训，就是类似于这样一个视频。然后另外的话，我们预留了最多半个小时。当然，如果大家有更多的一些疑问的话，我们可以把那个 Q&A 的环节直接进行一些设研，总共差不多是4个环节。那我们就简单从我们公司介绍一个开始。我们公司的话是95年由电脑马乌罗创办的，然后到现在的话有差不多26年、27年的一个历史。我们之前主要是做一些独立测试实验室起家，然后到
把那
后面，
些没说话的人都静音了吧？
对，感谢，就是麻烦就是进来的新朋友，就是把你们的就是麦克风先关一下。我们后面就是从呃10年到12年、13年开始，其实随着手机测试的一些发展的话，对于影像测试需求增大的话，我们其实也是接着这一股东风，然后从13年、14年那块就是比较快速的一个前进嘛。然后到现在，我们其实目前的行业都已经有很多，就包括传统的一些摄影啊、手机，包括近2年新出来的像车载安防、机器视觉，都是我们一个比较重要的一个行业。我们总部在德国科隆，然后17年是迁到那个科彭市。目前我们在美国跟中国都有子公司，然后2021年的话是加入了一个 Dynamic 集团。我们公司其实从整体上来讲的话，是提供全套的一个影像测试服务，就是方案给客户，就包括基础的一些图卡，到专业的分析软件，再到配合的一些专业光源，再到其他的一些测试产品。就是一般来讲的话，客户对于影像测试有任何需求的话，其实都可以第一时间来联系我们，就是我们可以结合我们行业的一些经验去提供客户一些更好的一些选择，为客户节省一些时间成本。就是单纯从图卡这一块来讲的话，我们其实类型的话有很多，而且我们大部分的图卡都是符合最新的测试标准的。另外的话也可以帮客户去定制他们想要的一些图卡。另外就是回到光源部分，就是因为对于图卡的一些测试，无论是反射式光源还是透视式光源的话，都是需要一些比较专业性的光源来做一些辅助帐篷的一个设置。我们目前来讲的话，对于大图卡的话，我们一般是像推荐用我们的 IQ Flatnet 这种专业性比较强的一个光源。另外的话，之前刚刚讲的一些，包括图卡也好，大部分可能是基于客观测试的。另外的话，我们也有就是主观测试的一些标杆，像主观摄影灯箱等等。我们也有不同版本的，就可以客户来做一些主观评测。这样的话，就是无论你是在不同中国的或者是世界的其他地点，你可以保证你的主观评测的环境的一致性。另外，我们产线上也有一些专业的一些光源啊，或者是其他的一些测试方案给产线用的。就基本上来讲的话，我们的定位的话是更加适用于研发，然后产线的话也会辅助的一些游戏设备。另外就是像一些 The Light Panel 啊，包括我们今年新出的跟可靠性，就是高低温不同温度环境下的一个影像的实时一个评测这一块也是比较突出的。另外的话，也是可以去做一些几何标定的去看，这也是我们新出的，针对于大广角的那种标定的需求比较好。这样的话就不需要客户去搭建一个大空间的一个环境， 然后再加上一些证据证或者是配合一些大图卡等等，就是这样的话，就用一个很小的设备就可以测出你的内外参数了。这样的话就比较快速灵活一些。另外的话，我们还有一些像 OS 啊，或者是一些广角，尤其是像车载行业跟安防行业里面，对于广角的一些应用越来越多的情况下，我们也有针对于广角的一些测试方案。另外的话，刚刚讲的光源的话，其实我们的 IQAD 的话，算是我们的一个核心加拳头产品。就它的功能扩展性的话，比市场上大多数的一些常见的光源的话要更加广一点。这一块的话，到时候客户有具体需求的话，可以随时再来找我们。另外的话就是前面说的是比较偏硬件，后面的话我们其实德国那边也会提供一些测试服务，就包括我们可以让我们一些全球最大影像实验室之一的德国总部科伦实验室，客户去实地去测，或者是将样品寄到我们可以提供一个总体的测试报告，以及如何优化你的 camera 这一块。另外的话，也可以去提供跟图像质量相关的测试一些培训，或者是安排的一些研讨会，或者你们有哪些需求，觉得可以跟我们的德国技术同事进行深入的交流的话，我们也可以针对某一个主题，然后去做一些1对1或者是实时的一个在线的一个交流。另外，回到我们今天的一个重心的话，就是我们的 IQ Analyzer 软件。这套软件是我们2021年1月份发布的，目前已经更新到1.5还是1.6的一个版本。然后这个版本相对于之前的 V6版本的话，它的运行速度跟启动速度要非常快，因为它的 UI 界面的话，也可以根据客户的一些爱好做一些设置，然后有自动检测图卡呀，然后数据存储啊等等，就是功能的话会比之前的 V6要很多。后面我们所有的重心的话都会放在 X 的一个更新，V6的话可能就不会有一些大的一些补充了。X 版本的一些介绍的话，待会会在 Word 的那个环节的话，会做一些具体或者是更多的一个介绍。然后另外，我们这个版本有一个比较大的一个开放的一个好处，就是说目前有个免费版本可以供客户去进行下载进行试用，就是客户可以在任何一台电脑上进行安装。它的使用其实跟专业版本没有特别大的一个区别，只是没有像专业版本那样可以导出数据跟测试报告。除此之外的话，其实功能是比较很类似的。这个功能主要是为了开放给一些对于测试可能没有那么大批量的需求，但是实实在在想要去进行体验，这种是比较好。另外的话，我们的 X 版本的话，会在日后的话去兼容市场上比较常见的一些图卡，这个也是为了我们 X 的版本的一个重心。我们目前在德国本部、中国子公司跟美国这有3个直销点，然后再有不同国家的话有不同的一个合作商。然后我们是作为中国的子公司来跟我们国内大中华区的一个客户做一些接洽的，就包括售前售后的一些服务支持都可以来找我们。这个就是我们目前我们 IE 公司的一个总体的一个介绍。就为了不占用大家太多时间的话，我们就没有介绍特别多。然后接下来的话，会有吴凡的话去做我们的 IQ Analyzer 的一个总体的一个介绍，包括跟其他软件的一个对比。后面如果对，我们在最后把 QA 放在最后的环节，为了以免就是保持整个培训会的一个顺畅性。Okay, Uwe, thank you for your time, and also thank you, Jack, for organizing this seminar. Now, please start your introduction about IQ Analyzer, IQ Analyzer X, and the history of IQ Analyzer. Thank you for your time.
He is mute.
Hello? Uwe?
Oh no, very sorry.
We can hear you. Yeah.
So it's already 2 years that we have more telephone conference and still happens that I'm on mute. I'm very sorry. Okay, so thanks Leon for the introduction, and welcome everyone for today's webinar on the IQ Analyzer X. So my name is Uwe Hartmann. I'm the CTO of Image Engineering. In the past, I had the chance to travel regularly to China and visit customers in China. Unfortunately, this is not possible right now, so that's why we use this format. So thanks for joining, and thanks for interest in the IQ Analyzer X. Before we jump really into the IQ Analyzer X, I just would like to give you a bit of the history of the IQ Analyzer, of the IQ Analyzer. And I just think that is kind of interesting to see how a software can evolve. So when we started testing cameras, and that was in 1997. So that means that we, for now 25 years, we at Image Engineering test digital cameras. At that time, the workplace looked like that. So we didn't have these nice monitors, and it was still other times. But in that time, we used Photoshop plugins with Excel in combination. So it was only used within Image Engineering. It was not a commercial product, and it was hard to maintain and not really easy to use. So that was the start for 2005, when we had the first, at that time still called IE Analyzer. That was the first commercial product. It had a very simple user interface, and it was just used to extract data. And the analysis and the calculation of results was then done in Excel. So actually, that was my first software that I wrote. At that time, I just started software development. And so that was the first product that we had. We in the version 3 that came out 2007, we had a much more complex user interface, and we already had data and analysis visualization. So we had numerical results, and we could plot the results into the user interface. 2009, we rewrote the complete code base. So it was a complete new software with a better internal structure. It was faster. It had automatic detection. So it was a great step forward, but already also, more than a decade ago. In the Analyzer 4.5, we added the functionality to read video data, so either a stream or a file. So to analyze that, we typically use this multi-bridge, so a hardware component to read video signals. With the version 5, we then called the software IQ Analyzer, mainly for the reason IE Analyzer is the IE was very commonly used for Internet Explorer. So people couldn't find us on the search engines on the internet. So that's why we then called the software IQ Analyzer in 2011. We started to add support for raw data, reworked the user interface, and changed the name. Then we had the IQ Analyzer version 6 started in 2014. So it's already quite some time ago. So we added a home screen, so a user interface where you say, okay, this is my chart. So a much more simplified user interface. We added multi-language support so that you could have a Chinese version. We had this multi-view, so combine multiple things, and an output of XML data, which is still commonly used, or many people use that now instead of the text output. In the version 6.2, we added that you don't need an admin mode, as some more analysis and a better data handling, so that you can have already 3 images analyzed and then add additional. So, but with version 6, that was about the end that we could achieve with the user interface, with the speed, and we weren't that happy with the software because the analysis time wasn't on the level as we would like to have it. The user interface couldn't be as complex as we would like to have it, and also the data handling wasn't up to date. So, but reworking the software wasn't an option. So that's why we introduced in last year the IQ Analyzer X. So the IQ Analyzer X is a complete new software. So we did not use any software from the Analyzer 6 because we built it completely on C++. So it's a complete new user interface, a complete new software. The nice thing is we do not have to work with MATLAB anymore. So the previous version were all based on MathWorks MATLAB. Our user interface got much better. We have much more flexibility. It's faster and it's easy to react. So the version 6 and our previous version were quite slow to react to user interface. So you click and then you have to wait to see something. Now we are much, much faster there. The overall analysis time is significantly reduced. So basically, or really from minutes to seconds for an analysis. So really much, much faster. We have a database storage, so you can use the software locally on your laptop for your own use, but you can also connect it to a database so that you can share results, settings, reference data, can share that with your colleagues. So if you have a team, so multiple people work on the software, they can all share the results and load the results. That gives great flexibility. Of course, the charts are detected automatically, and for images where this is problematic because of very strong distortion, alignment, and so on, what we can do is that you have a very flexible and easy to use manual mode, much better than in the previous version. And we can use individual reference data, so we also worked on that. So of course, before we go into the details when I show you the software, a very typical question that I get is, how does the IQ Analyzer X compare to IMATest? And IMATest, of course, or a popular software to do image quality analysis. So I did some some comparison. So first of all, Image Engineering is a European company based in Germany. So all development and the whole software originates here in Germany, and it's not a US-based company. I understand that due to some political reasons, I don't want to go into details, that it can be a problem to use a US-based software in a Chinese company. So we do not use, so our own code is completely here, but also everything that you need to install is either open source tools, but definitely not MATLAB. And so IMATest is still based on MathWorks MATLAB. So you need to install MathWorks MATLAB in the background to run IMATest software. And that is can be a problem. So that is a big benefit of the IQ Analyzer X. We have a very fast analysis. We don't have a one-by-one comparison to IMATest, but we are very, very fast. So that is on complex images. That works very well. For the database technology, we can work locally, and we have a server-based database. So you can, with a larger team, assign a server to be the database, while on IMATest, it's a local database only. So sharing with colleagues is a problem. We are based on international standards. Actually, we wrote a lot of reference code for international standards from ISO, for example, while IMATest tends to not to stick, so to change here a bit and there a bit, and not to be completely on the standards. So that can be a problem in some cases where you have to comply with standards. IMATest provides a demo version, but then you have to obtain a license. The IQ Analyzer X has a very powerful free version. So you can download the software, you can use it in a free version. Of course, there are limitations in the free version, but you are allowed and entitled to use the free version for your usage. And there are already use cases where it's easy to use and to obtain some numbers, and for if you don't need to go into detail and get all the benefits, you can just stick with the free version. We have a very flexible offline license management with a USB dongle that allows local and network work. That is, I know using a USB dongle sometimes can be a problem. On the other side, it's a big benefit when you are in a sensitive environment, like most of our customers are, that they are in R&D or in a production line environment where an open internet connection is a problem. So with our solution, you have a flexible license management, so you can have multiple people on one license, but without need of an internet connection. The Imatest floating license requires an internet connection, otherwise you're stuck to a single person on a single PC. And with our solution, it's no problem to have multiple people on multiple laptops or PCs working with the license. On the technical side, I mean, picking some of the most iconic charts that the software uses. So on image engineering side, that is the TE42. At Imatest side, that's the SFR Plus chart, so with a lot of slanted edges. I copied this from the actual Imatest website, where they compare like Siemens-Star to slanted edge, and where they themselves say that the Siemens-Star is slower. That is not true with the IQ Analyzer X anymore. IQ Analyzer X is extremely fast in this regard. Especially, they say it's slightly more sensitive to software sharpening, and the Siemens-Star would be slightly less sensitive. And that is the slightly is not our experience and our data. So we have some conference papers and some results where you can see that the slanted edge method is highly sensitive to sharpening, to other kind of processing. So we use the slanted edges for analysis of the processing, but not for an optical assessment. So I think with the TE42, we have a much more complex analysis. So more colors, more noise, more dead leaves, Siemens-Star and slanted edges all in one, so that especially for the tuning of a digital camera, it's a much better data ground that you have to optimize your camera, especially when you tune a camera, find the right parameters to get the best user experience. So I think there you have a much better solution and a much better tool to do so. As already said, there is a free version which you are entitled to install on unlimited devices. You can configure user interface and already do analysis with that. And there are limitations in terms of using reference data and export data. But for that, you can use a professional version and work with that or with the professional version. But you can start with the free version, work with that, and make your experience and work with that. Already talked about the license. So we do have the Analyzer X based on a USB dongle. So you can, if you just want to start today, you can start the free version. Once you obtain a dongle, then you can make it a pro version. Dongles have pro and cons. We think that for the sensitive areas, as our customers are in R&D and so on, this is a better solution because we can really clearly say we have no connection home. So we have no connection to any server of image engineering directly. And it's really a software that runs without data connection. Just a comment, you will see in the next sections in the presentation of the software, you will see that you can or have reference data for charts. So just to make sure that you have the reference data for your target. So if you already use a TE42, please make sure that you use your reference data. You can obtain that from our website, and I'm sure that our team from our subsidiary in China is happy to assist you if you have any problems finding it. So with that, thank you a lot for giving me time for this introduction. I would now like to hand over to show you the IQ Analyzer X software. And if you have any questions in between, please use the chat. Put your questions into the chat in English or in Chinese, so then our friends from our office will translate. And we will, after that, we have a Q&A session. I'm happy to answer your questions. Hey. So, Jack, can you take over? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for your time, Ufa. 嗯，各位朋友，刚刚无法介绍这一块的话，不知道大家有没有相关的一些疑问？如果有的话，可以现在提出来，或者是等到我们待会下一个环节结束以后，在 Q&A 也可以提出来。
购买那个软体的话，有说2年要更新，或者之后每年花维护费这样子吗？
对，是这样的，就是购买软件的时候，一般是1年以内的话是免费进行升级的。然后也可以后面1年以后的话，就需要每1年进行升级。但是对于我们就是比较关注就是我们一些新闻，还有就是呃呃我们相关活动的一些客户的话，我们会不定期的话会推出一些活动，就比如说我们在某一个阶段的话会推出一些像类似于终身软件，就是 maintenance 的一个服务，就是以一个比较优惠的一个价格去提供终身的一个服务给客户。这一块的话，您可以到时候会后再找我们来咨询，或者是通过邮件啊或其他的方式都可以的。这是maintenance 的一个服务。但是使用的话，就是你购买了，你升级完的那个版本的话，其实是可以终身使用的。只是后面比如说时间年限有些新的模块出来的话，需要你们再进行升级。你们如果不升级的话，也是 OK 的，对于使用没有任何影响。只是新的模块可能就是暂时用不了。就是完了以后再
了解。
好的，谢谢你。
哎，你好，我问一下，刚才说支持 RAW 的格式嘛？然后是所有的图卡都可以吗？还是有一些什么区别？
我目前的话接收到的信息的话是所有的图卡都是可以接受乐图的分析的。但是刚刚您提问的那个格式的话，我到时候要跟物法那边确认一下。
好。
对对对。
EMA-Test 那边的话已经有很多的图卡了嘛？那你们的软件可以判读吗？
对，这个是我们后面的一个比较大的一个重心。我们会囊括，比如像 EMA-Test 的一些常用的分析图卡，就像 SF Plus 啊等等，就是这一类市场大家用的比较多的，我们会把它纳入到我们的 X 版本的。但是具体更新的时间的话，要看无法那边的计划。但这个会是我们的一个，应该是今年22年或者是23年这1-2年的一个重心。这样的话，就是说你通过可以下载我们的一个免费版本，或者是购买我们收费版本的一个软件，这样的话就可以就市场上包括我们的图卡或者是 InTest 一些什么图卡的话，也可以在我们的软件里面进行分析的。但是现在可能还没有，还没有更新到那一步。
喂，你好。
你好，请说。
那个就是我想要请问，因为我们在之前版本iCUE Analyzer 6的时候，就也会遇到有些时候那个对位，就是 T1429 chart 上面对位会有，比方说 color checker 或者是 deadlift 的它的那个框选的位置会有错误，还是会有零星的错误。那 Analyzer X 这边它的这些就对位的精准度还是算法上面有提升吗？
会有优化。就之前的话，就是你ROI 区域，然后 V6的版本的话，是有可能会在就是ROI 区域以外，就是它进行框选。对，确实是之前是 V6版本的话是有的时候会出现这种情况，但是 X 版本的话，会比之前这种框选的精度的话要更加精准一点。就是只要你在保证在图卡排除正确的一个情况下呢，其实会应该就是也不是应该吧，就是会比之前的那个进度 ROI 的这个进度要提升很多。我不知道你现在有没有用过 X 版本的，
X 我们现在还没有用过，所以具体来说，可能待会讲完，今天应该是也会介绍 X 的这个用法，对不对？
对，是的。
所以就是具体来说，可能意思是说有提升，但是我们有没有再遇到，就是要看用了之后再确认，是这样吗？
是。会后的话，你可以下载免费版本的话去进行试用的，然后你可以看一下它的一个提升。对。
OK， 好。
OK， 好，谢谢。OK， 那我们待会所有的问题留到 Q&A 的环节。OK， Ufa, thank you for time. And Jake, please start your video for next section.
Analyzer X is featured with a database in the background. So results are stored in a database that is either locally on the machine or on a server that you can connect to. So I open an image file to analyze this. Now the software automatically detects which chart the image shows. I can import this file into the software and have it here on the left in the images section. Now I start a new analysis. So this gives me now my results and all forms of numerical results that I can just see and can go through. If I want to store this for later usage, I say save new analysis. And I can store it here. I give it a simple name. So it's demo1234. Demo1234. And can save the analysis. So now if I close it or for later use, I have the software, I start the software again. I can now open an analysis and recall the data from my data set. So here, this is the one that I just took today. I open and I got my results back, which I can now work with as if I would have just analyzed it just before. The IQ Analyzer X has a very versatile user interface. So I already added an image file here to my input list and I say start new analysis. So you see how fast the software now analyzes the image and presents the data to me. I always have multiple sections in my user interface, which I can also adjust in size and location as I would like to have. So you see, I have the default is that I have my analysis, my file list here, I have my image and I have my results. But if I like to, I can also undock this part here and just move it to another location where I would like to have. So this way I have a flexible interface which I can use however I would like to have it. So now here on my results, I can click through the different representations. So here I got on the resolution part, I got like all SFRs in an overview. And the nice thing is whenever I hover over a certain line, it's highlighted here in the image. So I always know where I am or what data I'm actually looking at. I can also have here for the Siemens star, the nice feature to have the MTF10, 25, 50 represented in this polar plot. This is a very quick assessment of the results that I would like to see. As the outer ring is the Nyquist frequency and the inner part, that is the measured frequency for MTF10, MTF25 and MTF50. So this way I got a quick overview. I see that here, like the lower left corner is weaker than the upper right. And I see the representation in the image center. If I would like to have the SFR plot, that is also no problem. So here I see I have the results from the image center, and here I got the results from the corner. I see as well that I got this tooltip information, so where I can read the detailed results or detailed see what data, where this data comes from. It's the same for the dead leaves and for the slanted edges. I can always adjust the plot as how I like it. So you see now with the mouse, I just zoom in so I can have a look at details. So yeah, so if I just want to know here, I zoom in and zoom out using the scroll wheel of my mouse. Can of course also here click on the zoom buttons up here. If I just would like to have less data in my plot, I can just click here on the legend to add or remove data points from my list. With this little lock, I can also adjust even further. So I could even say I would like to have the legend on a different position. Like move it back to the top. Or I can say I would like to see the results from all stars. But here, or just for the group. I can as well use different scaling for my axis. So typically, or the default is that it's on automatic mode. For some users, it might be useful to have it on a manual scale so that I can compare many cameras with a significant difference in their pixel count. Always have a look here at the different drop-down menus. There you can also select individual data points which you might want to have. For the OECF, I can also let's go have a look there. So I can have the log luminance plot, which is a very typical plot to see. And I can also have my visual noise, and here in a nice polar plot. Also that is quite useful, as I can easily understand the distribution over the patches and have a lot of information in one plot. For color, I see here my delta LCH. So this is related to the color patches, and where I see the difference between the reference data and the image data. While I see here the direct visual comparison, or I can see the numerical results, I can here see the visual comparison, so that I can directly say, okay, here in A1, I got a significant difference in color. And I see in the border that it's also marked red. So that means that I measure a high delta E in this part. If I want to investigate even further, we have a 3D representation. So there I can directly see, okay, the biggest delta E we can find here is in the yellowish colors. So this is a quite nice feature, so that I can quickly understand where are the actual issues. Like here, yellowish colors seem to have a high color error. Or here in a three-dimensional plot, where I can now go in and see details of my reference to the data. Okay. So you see, we have a very versatile user interface where you can always activate, deactivate plots and work with, and always adjust it to your need.
How to handle multiple files in the IQ Analyzer X. So we go onto a new analysis, and now we open an image folder. Okay, so all images in the folder are now shown here. As I know, they are all from the same chart. I do an automatic detection globally, so that, with the assumption that all images are the same. So now here on the right, I can use different templates. So if you have a test protocol where you need multiple images, you can create a test protocol as a template. So here, my simple example, I need for my test protocol an ISO 100, ISO 400, and ISO 1600 image. So now I drag these images in their certain slot, and only if all slots are filled, I can continue. So this is kind of a reminder, or helps to establish a certain workflow. So now my images are imported. I can start the analysis.
Okay, so now I can see my results and can either click here in the analysis overview to get the individual results for my multiple images. But maybe I just want to compare the all results from these images. So what I do here, I mark with control click all 3 images. So now they are added into my plot here and also added to my results list. If I think that this is a little bit too much to have an overview, I reduce that to the image. So now I have the dead leaves results of 3 images in one plot. So this is a great example how to compare multiple results from multiple images in the user interface of the IQ Analyzer X. Let's see how I can analyze a video file. So I say new analysis, and here in my import dialog I have import from video files. So now I can select a video file and have my interface where I can say play. So this way I go to the position in the video file where I would like to go. And here I can now say, okay, take an image. So I can close. In my import dialog now, I have this cropped file from the video. So now this is an image file that was extracted from the video file. The software automatically already automatically detected that it is a PE230, so color checker SG. So this can now be imported, and yeah, I can now also analyze that. So that's quite easy. Now I got my numerical results for that. So I did this color analysis, and some of you might have noticed that the ROIs on the patches aren't set ideal. So a great chance to show you the manual detection modes. So I close this and I select here for the detection the semi-automatic mode. So now I start a new analysis and I got this window. Here I see all automatically detected region of interest. You see they haven't been set ideally. So now I have here these markers where I can just grab all or can just grab the master ROI and place all ROIs where I would like to have them. Say OK, and the analysis now is performed using the new region of interest. So you see I have a very easy and versatile way to adjust to images that might not have been captured ideal. Here, of course, forced for the demo, but if you have strong distortions or any other issues where the software might not detect perfectly, you always have the manual mode to adjust. So with the database behind the IQ Analyzer X, you can recall results whenever you like to. So the database can be your main storage of results. But maybe you would like to have something to share with colleagues or to put into a PowerPoint presentation. So for that, you also can export PDF. Or if you want to do your own analysis and do your own reporting, you can also export an XML file. So the XML contains all information that are shown here in the analysis. If I select PDF, we have multiple options. The main thing is that you can have different templates. So the IQ Analyzer X comes with a default template. If you would like to have your own template, your own reporting, get in touch with us. So here I have resolution, always say, okay, I don't want to have the shading report, I don't want to have the distortion report, and I'm fine with these three. So now I can export that and say, okay, I just want to have that as report. Yes, I would just like to replace that. So now the software generates in the background the PDF report. If I now open it, I see I have my report with a default, in a default template. So I have my region of interest stored, but also all the plots that are in the user interface, so that I have it stored and can use for my own reporting. Of course, this can also be done with recall data. So the nice thing is, as you have your database, you can also, in half a year later, you can just recreate your report. Also, if you, for example, have a new template, these reports are generated based on the database. So that's a quite nice feature of the IQ Analyzer X. How does the IQ Analyzer X handle reference data? So if I import an image here into the software for further analysis, the software automatically detects that this is a TE42 version 2 in a 4:3 aspect ratio. What it does not have is the reference data, so the specific measurement results of this chart. So for example, the color data and the density. Per default, it uses the example from the chart file. So that is the batch measured data. So that is already a good data, but for be really precise, you should use the data that really comes with the chart. So how can I do that? So let's cancel here and I go into the configure dialog. There I find reference data. Now I can select the file that where I would just like to store reference data for. So here's a TE42 version 2 4:3 aspect ratio. And now I can import an image file that I have, or a reference file that matches this file. Okay, so this is now imported into the database and it can now be used. So this file can be obtained from Image Engineering for the TE42. So you can just download that from our website. You get information when you receive your target. If you want to do that for other targets like an OECF target or have your own color checker, you can also edit these files. So other than in the IQ Analyzer version 6, these are now reference file are text-based. So you can use a text editor to adjust the files and import that. So now as I have added a new reference file, let's see how that looks like. So I open an image file, which is now also identified as a TE42 version 2 4:3. And now I can still select the example from the chart file, but I can also select the just imported file with the serial number of my specific chart, which makes it a much more precise measurement as any chart-to-chart variation that is low for image engineering products, but is still existing. So I can work with the exact data, which is the best possible way to do. Okay, let's have a look at some of the details in the configure menu. So if I go to configure, I can make a lot of settings in the background. For details, have a look at the manual, but here I give you just a quick run through. So under general, we have the details to the database. So so you can have a local database that just runs on your machine, or you can have a shared database. So that would just need to be a database that can follow the ODBC protocol, and that can be on the server. The nice thing is multiple people can work on the same database. So if you have a team of, let's say, 5 people, all would connect to the same database. So all can also restore, get the results from the other colleagues and work with that. So that's extremely useful. Here you connect the database and can check the connection. We also feature multi-language support. So we have English as a default, but then we also have German, Japanese, and Chinese. So if you would like to use the user interface in your own language, that's where you can configure it. The dongle is also configured here. So the license of the IQ Analyzer is managed using a USB dongle. We've decided this way because this is an extreme secure way. We don't need any internet connection to work properly. And so for now, that is the way how to manage the license. For that, we feature a local workflow where you have the USB dongle is connected to the machine, to the PC that you are currently working with. But we also have a network functionality. So you can have the dongle connected in a network share. See the manual for more details, but then you can also use that dongle via the network. Also here the use case might be you have multiple people working, so you can have a dongle with like 5 licenses on that, and then but people can have on 10 different machines have the software installed and just use it very flexible on the machine they would like to have. Then we have settings here for the analysis setting. So you can define a lot of different details of the analysis, like setting how exactly the linearization is done, how some sourcing is done, how fittings are done. So really detailed analysis of or detailed settings of the analysis. And you can then also store multiple different settings. So I can make some changes here and then save this setting with a new name. So this is now my setting, and I say the setting as shown in demo. So with the description, I can remember later on what I've done. So we want to avoid that you have now setting 1, 2, 3 and you don't know exactly what it is. So now you have stored it under with the name that you would like to have. So the visualization can also be customized. So some limits. So for example, in color, a certain error gets turned red, others are yellowish. So this is what can be defined under visualization. We have the reference file import. That's what we already talked about in the reference file. So with the target, if you have detailed data of your target, so color data, densities, and so on, you can import that here. So then it's stored in the database. Also, that means that if you have a shared database, all colleagues can participate in this data and can make use of this data. Specifications for the UTT or a special target where you have specifications and you can get information if you passed or failed the specification can be imported here. And a very nice feature is the automation where you have a command line and a hot folder functionality. But that's, yeah, I'm going to go into detail with that in another video. So let's have a look at the automation features. So we have 2 main input ways or interfaces into the automation. So one is the hot folder. So I can add a folder here. And I say, okay, I have this hot T42 version 2 folder. I select that. And I can now make different settings to this folder. So for example, I say, I want to have my settings for this, and I want to automatically save it to the database after the analysis. And I would like to have, I say this is a T42 version 2, and I select this is my reference data. So now this way I created a specific hot folder for my that I can use. So now I can have here now this hot folder, and I have an example image. So I just copy it into the hot folder. So now going back here, I see here my jobs. I can now activate the hot folder, and I see that this will now automatically analyze the image. If I copy a new one, it will also analyze these images. So I can say automatically start hot folder watching at application start. So I could have a server where the software is running and just continuously watch it, has a look on the hot folders. So that is, of course, a very powerful tool, especially if you have always the same task of analyzing very similar images. You can have just the folder and throw the images into this folder and let the software do the job. So now have a look at another way for automation. Besides the hot folder, we also have the command line interface. You have different possibilities to control in the command line, and to make it most easy for the user, we made a workflow where you can can create a sample file. So in this example here, I just select the file that I would like to analyze. I also say, okay, my different settings. So I would like to save the analysis to the database. I use my settings, and I use the local database. The chart detection, in this case, I would like to do it manually with my reference data that I already used. So now I can create a batch file. So this batch file, I just save it to the desktop. I say sample batch demo1. Okay, this has been successfully been created. So now I can, what happened in the background, this batch file has been created, and I can just double click on it so that I can also start the execution. Of course, I can then also open the batch file for my editing. So see now, as the software was open, the analysis has been performed and already been stored. But now if I also see, so this is the batch file as I created it. So you can, of course, then use this as a starting point to create your own files and to make your own tools that interfere or have an interface into the IQ Analyzer apps.
OK，刚刚那个是我们无法就是录制了关于 X 版本的一个总体的一个介绍。刚刚其实我们也有注意到有些客户里面有一些问题，然后我们现在在问题当中就是一一展现给大家。Hey Wufa, could you review the question from Casper?
There's a lot of in Chinese. Can you?
Yes, I will repeat the question for you.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. So question one, that's about the Iquinazo X load type. Does the MIPI or UM package was supported?
Okay. So let me show you the software here now. So about the analysis, we do have the raw format. So I can say here in the top row where I say open image file, I can also check import files are raw files. So raw means for us, it has no header and we can use any flow. So if I now open the image file, I can make a lot of different settings. So I can define width, height, bits per color, header offset, byte order, pixel pattern, offset, and so on. And the nice thing is I can also store that. So if I have a prototype that has a very specific combination of these settings, I can then store these files and recall the settings. So this way we support basically any raw file that we found, or a lot of, let's say we have many raw files from our customers that we already support. If there are specific file formats that you use and they are not imported or they are not possible, best way for us is if you can share us some sample images with some known content, so with a color checker or something, and then we are happy to make sure that these files can be imported.
OK，总体上来说，我们肉图分析的话，市场上常见的一些格式的话都可以。所以我理解是，您刚刚说的 MIPI 还有其他另外一个格式也是可以的。然后，如果您或者我们这边不太确认的话，您可以将一些肉图可以发给我们，我们再用我们的 Icon 软件分析一下。另外一个问题是，还有another question that could you please share us about how to conduct the raw file analysis, because another customer have interest in it.
I don't have a sample file here right now, but basically you would open the image file and then make the settings according to the file. So yeah, I'm not prepared, but I can. So you would now say, okay, I have an image that has 1280 by or 1920 by I don't know 1080 pixel. You would say that is a 16-bit. You can have even more then you have a header of, I don't know, 20 or 10 bytes offset for information. It's a little endian with RGB pattern and a bit offset of 0. So now I say this is device 1 raw, and can save that to the database and can say okay. So now I would open the raw file, which I don't have. Let's see if I have a. I'm pretty sure I did the wrong format, but now it would. So now it cannot really detect because it doesn't match. So sorry, I wasn't really prepared for this question, but I can can show a little demo and share that on also later on. But this is a workflow. So you open the image file, you say it's a raw format, and then need the right parameters, so then you can, and then you just use software as in the other cases we did.
对，肉图的分析跟普通图片也是差不多的，但是之前其实要填一些相关的一些数据，然后再进行展开就 OK 了，跟那个其他格式的一些图片格式的那个分析是一样的。Okay, another question that when will be Icon Analyzer X version API available? Within this year or next year? Do you have any plan?
So the API depends what you really want to do with the API. So we already have, as shown, we have the hot folder interface, we have the command line interface. So for the most applications, this is already what you can do. So if you want to analyze images automatically using Python and so on, this is already what you want to do. In the background, we use an API, and we have to. So the API in the background is already there. So if you have a specific need, get in touch. So we can do that on a consulting basis, elaborate on what exact version you need, and then we can also make that.
OK， 我们软件在那个背景设置里面会有那个 API 的一个选择。然后另外的话就是不知道你们的应用是在哪一方面，如果有确切的这种需求的话，可以跟我们再去商讨 进行详细的一个商讨，关于 API 或是哪个版本或者是应用方向这样的。Okay, here we have a English question. Could you repeat that?
So about the color analysis, when we about the color space, yes. So if I open or let's the question about the color analysis. So compliance CIE 1931, yes, that is one of the different options. If I go here into the configure analysis setting and then for color, so you see we can have different color difference formulas. That is that part there, and we can have different color spaces. So also like the BT 2020, sRGB, and yeah, so we can have these in here. Question is, yes, we can handle these. If there are specific color spaces, we can also read the ICC files. We do that already in the UTT module, where we support embedded files, and we will do that also here in the next upcoming version. Answer the question of customized charts. So yeah, so we can. So there is a huge variety of charts that we have, or let's, I don't know, just use a sample image here. So the software will now detect the chart automatically, and we have a list of supported charts in here. This list will grow with every version, and in the background, the chart files are created. So you can still, like in the version 6, if you have a customized chart, if you obtain that from image engineering, or if you have any chart, we can also create custom chart layouts. So, and that can either be done, can also be done by importing them in the background. So there's no need for, oh yeah, so we can support customized test targets also with the software. So if you or your company has some specific specific data or charts, we can make individual chart files for your need. Okay. And also, yeah, customized chart, if you have like different sizes, that is also possible, but that is not a problem of the software analysis. This is more of a chart production, but that's also what image engineering offers services to. So to create targets for your specific needs. So different sizes, different layouts, and so on. That's where we are very happy to do. Please always get in touch with our friends from our Chinese subsidiary, so Leon or Caleb, and they will be happy to assist you to design a new chart. A question if they can export data of diagrams in CSV format. Well, we export now. We export in XML format because we think that is easy. It's easier to handle when you want to like use other languages than to show the data. And you can always also into Excel, for example, you can import XML data and then do your own plots. So that is supported. If you so to have XML export and PDF export, we will yeah. If there are specific needs for customers, we will also think about other options. But at the moment, customers that we spoke to are happy with the XML output, and yeah, that's what we have right now.
OK，我们支持的话，用 XML 可能是更加方便简洁一点，刚刚我的意思。但是 CSV 的话，我觉得如果需要那个的话，也不是一个一个大的问题，所以这个应该是可以的。然后另外就是OK，another question, Uwe, sorry. For the version 1.5 IQ Analyzer X, could customer, use the command line to running IQ Analyzer X?
Yes, so what you see here is the version 1.5, and that is the already available software. So it has been released, I think, 2 weeks ago, and that already has this command line functionality. So if you have the version 1.5, and here for the configure, you have this automation section, and that has the hot folder input and the command line input. So it has been added, like 2 weeks ago in the version 1.5, and the command line has the as shown. So you can use this tool here to make a sample, and then you create a batch file. So that would be once, but then the typical how we think it is used, that you first create the sample or this batch file, and then you use your own tools to update these batch files, so to create your own batch files. But with this way, you have a very easy way to understand how to use and how to work with that.
OK，刚刚的那个就是现在 X 版本的话，可以通过 command line。如果其实我们现在 API 因为现在还没有正式出来嘛，所以可以用 command line 来进行X 版本的一个运行。OK，提问的话，现在可以通过语音，就是中英文都可以了。就不管是我们现在在介绍的 X 版本，还是您之前在采用的 video 版本都可以。
Hello。OK。我这边有个问题啊，就是现在我想确认一下，视频是不是还是跟图片一样分析，还是说有时域上的一些分析啊？现在？
现在视频的分析的话，我们目前仍旧是逐帧的分析，就需要客户去进行结帧。OK，let me ask. Hi, Wufa. Let me ask you another question. That
sure.
For the video analysis, so we still need to analyze them frame by frame, not the whole video, right?
So in version 1.5 is about the analysis of a video file. The support, any video here. So this is where you can play the video. So here it just shows the chart, but so you can go into the video, and then also import import these files. The support of video files. So in terms of to see how is like convergence. So how does a video react to changing lighting? That is something that is a work in progress, and that will be part of a future version. But that's also planned and will definitely also come in one of the next versions.
这个分析的话，可能会在未来的一些版本去做这种进一步的更新。目前的话，就是还是需要结帧的一个分析。
那相当于时域的信息，其实现在还是没办法出数据的，对吧？
可以出数据，但是它是通过结帧分析，并不是一整段视频的一个分析结果。就是如果想要在评估在不同光源，就是你切换光源的时候，你的图像性能的一个表现的话，这一块的话可能还评估不出来，需要等到我们在未来的版本更新，就是整段视频的分析以后，才能有这种评估的一个效果。目前的话是可以分析，但是就是我刚刚说的那一块就目前就不能。
好的，谢谢。
对，不客气。
Hi, Uwe. It's Alex here.
Hey, Alex.
Long time no see.
Yeah,
it looks the same. I wanted to know how about in the version X, the video ghosting, and can we measurement the video noise?
So at the moment we would extra frame, and so in different test protocols, like in the VCX test protocol, and also in others, we use the visual noise metric to analyze video noise. There's an upcoming version from VCX, which is an international consortium or a forum for image quality analysis. For that, we plan in summer a release of a new test protocol, and that will include also video noise. So we will make sure that the IQ Analyzer X will support this test protocol. So that means we will then also have dedicated video noise analysis in that version.
So that would be like a 1.6, for example, or?
I think we will have a 1.6 before with another analysis, but might be a 1.7. So definitely, by summer we're going to have that.
Yeah. Right. So just in the early January, the P2020 just released the new standard. So in the automotive image quality. So how about in the analyzer? Is that supported? Do you have any document about what our Analyzer X supported?
So the P2020 is about to release a document. So it is. There will be. I think it will take till summer or something. Then if there is something public, and it will not be. It will be a draft. It will not be a final standard. But the numbers or measurements that are in P2020 are, for example, flicker measurements. There will be some resolution measurement. So this resolution that is supported in the IQ Analyzer already. There will be noise measurement that we will carefully check the exact outcome. So there is still discussion in the group, but as soon as it has settled and is decided, we will also support that in the IQ Analyzer. There will be a flicker part, which we will support, but that's more like a hardware issue. So is more like something where you need a really good light source, which is our Vega light source. So that is in there. And then we will closely see what exactly is in there. And that'll also support that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it's still discussions going on at P2020, what exactly to use and what exactly to do. So, but we have a close look at that. We are active members of P2020, and yeah, we'll have a look at that. Yeah.
And in the P2020, when that symposium, did they discussing about the flare?
There is
to measure, yeah.
Yeah, there is a flare measurement proposal, but that is still ongoing. So there has been some technical concerns about that. So there is, so the main editor is from onsemi, and also others from DxO are try to put their stuff in there, but the work group has still some technical concerns. So there's still discussions going on how exactly to do that. As soon as that will settle and will be finalized, also image engineering will support that. So we are committed that we're gonna support P2020 measurements, but at the moment it's still a lot of discussions, and yeah, we'll check. Some of these things we can already do in our lab, and we can already capture data, but yeah, it's still ongoing for that. Yeah.
Right. So basically, probably like in the summertime, we'll issue in the new version supported.
So the next drafts need to be ready in January. So then there's another round of review, and then the process will start to create a document. And when we have that, we will also, we will have a closer look at, or we will then also, implement that. There are, for example, also targets described in the noise part. There are targets described that are compliant, or that are basically image engineering test targets, because we have very high dynamic range test targets that are neutral. So we have seen some targets from our competition, so from that are not perfectly neutral, that have some technical issues, which we don't see or don't have in our targets.
Right. Okay, because we have some quite recently have many inquiries to talking about in the automotive side. So we pretty catch up the more information as we can, and supported the total solutions. So
sure, we can. We can put
So
more
as soon
information
as you have
together
one.
and work on that. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome, Alex.
Okay, Uwe, can you show the
so-
analysis of HDR? The customer.
So I don't have sample data here. So there are different ways how you can to really understand the HDR. So in one side, so you can. I don't have good sample data here. So basically, what you would do is to do an OECF with a high dynamic range. If you really want to see what's happening in the HDR, there are other options that you can do. Let me very quickly bring that up. That would be something. One quick moment. So the thing is, what you want to perform, if there is, so there are some protocols. So one way, what you can do is to use like a TE269. So that is a target that you see here. This is supported in the IQ Analyzer, and you can do the analysis there. Of course, or some problems that you can still have then, but that's not on the analysis. That's more on the device side. So you see some images that can cause really some trouble. So here, just an example, when you have really like flare issues. So that is something that is, you have to work on. So it does work with the IQ Analyzer. The problem that we more have when we really, start again. So when we use these patches, this is the target that you can use. And there we can also see this kind of effect, but as we have just 36 patches, we might not see that well. So this is an effect that you typically have from HDR, and that is called SNR drops. So that means when you combine multiple images into one HDR image, that you get in between, you get these drops. So you see that here on the right part. So the brighter patches have more noise than the darker patches, which is not intuitive and is a problem. So this is something that you can investigate with with an OECF test target like this. There is another way that you can do, and that is the CDP analysis. So a CDP analysis is performed with our DTS, but also with others. And there you have this kind of map. So for example, here, this is a single exposure, and this is a multi-exposure HDR. So here you see yellow area means a very good probability to detect a certain contrast, so certainty. And then the lower, the worse. And you see here, there are some areas here where you see that there is some more noise. So you see these parts here, and that will really tell you the differences in the performance. Or here, by intention misconfigured. So you see there are some areas that are very well, but you have also areas in between that is exactly the intersection between multiple exposures that then have a problem. So this would be the tool for really detailed analysis of an HDR configuration, especially like in automotive, where you have very high dynamic ranges. That would be the ideal way. The other way is then to use like a 36 patch target where you can typically also see more or less dynamic range depending on the setting. Important to see, it's not just a target, you also need a powerful light source in the background to create this dynamic range. I don't have sample data here right now with turning on and off, but yeah, I can check if I can prepare something, and then yeah, that we have it maybe in the future webinar or have it on our website. I just took a note, yeah.
对，软件的分析的话，OECF 的话跟那个 TSI 其实是差不多的，也就是基于图片形式导入，然后再进行分析，然后再将报告导出。实际上，一个其实测试的话，目前都是用一些高端的一些透视光源加那个 T169的一个灰阶测试卡。尤其是汽车行业的话，它端范围比较高的话，需要那种高端的测试光源跟那个高端范围的图卡去做一个总体的一个测试。然后在图片导到分析软件里面进行分析。Okay. Next question. If you have.
Hello, Uwe.
Hello.
Yeah. I just want to ask, when we start up the ELISA-X by command line, if we fix the alignment error, just like the color checker or setting edge alignment error when in command line, can we solve or correct the error by command line, or just can by UI of the ELISA-X?
So when you use the command line, you will rely on the automatic detection. You will get a check image so that you, if you have
but if the check image some patch location is error, can we correct by maybe set the XY location image of the patch color check or setting edge to the in command line to the ELISA-X to correct, or we just can open it in UI of ELISA-X and calculation?
Yeah, at this point you would have to open it then in the user interface software and do the correction there. At the moment, frankly speaking, I didn't think about that, how to do that exactly in command line to specify things. What we want to have, and that may be something to add, that if you have that you can also provide the information about the chart location so that you can basically help the software to do a better job of detection.
Yeah.
That is a good point. Actually, I didn't think about it, but it's a very good point. So yeah, I can
yeah.
But no, that's at the moment it is. If the detection would not be good, you would go into the user interface and then use it
by manual. Yes. Okay, I know. I see. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome, and thanks for your input.
Okay. Any other questions? Please feel free to ask.好，请问还有其他问题吗？或者是也可以到时候这边收集一下，然后通过邮件的方式发给我们，然后我们到时候再进行沟通。如果你们暂时没有遇到的话，可能我们今天的会议就到此就结束了。这是我的邮箱，就是您这边有任何的一些疑问的话，可以通过邮箱的方式来发给我们，或者是通过电话，这些都可以。OK， 我们会继续等待5分钟。大家如果没有其他问题的话，可以先行离开这个会议室。再次感谢大家的时间，跟我们一起来进行相关方面的一些交流。后期的话，我们会陆陆续续展开其他的一些话题的一些沟通。到时候在线上通知你们，或者是贵司有一些特别问题的一些，或者是深入交通的沟通的一些需要。也可以随时来找我们，我们到时候会进行相关时间的安排，就跟你们线上就是进行单独的交流也是可以的。 Okay, Uva and Jack, we will wait for maybe 3 or 5 minutes and let everyone leave the meeting room. And thank you again for your time and your efforts to prepare this wonderful introduction of Icon X. And I just told our customer that we are always open for everyone to discuss with more details about our Iconizer and other products. If we have another specific topic, we will let you know.
Definitely. So thanks everyone for joining, and fully agree. If there are some specific questions, get in touch. We're happy to assist, and I hope that in not too far future, I will be able also to come in person to China and visit many of you in person again. So thanks for joining today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone. And we always looking forward to inviting Ufa to come China again when pandemic is over. So see you soon in Shenzhen or maybe other cities in China. Okay, thank you everyone. So if there are no questions, we may close this meeting room after 1 minute.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.